Kelly Joe's Shoes. We've got Kelly Joe himself in the studio with us. Kelly Joe Phelps playing tonight over at Southgate House. He's got a great new record out called Toonsmith Retrofit, which we want to ask about too. But Kelly Joe's Shoes, tell us the story behind that song.
Well, it's pretty verbatim, you know. We were doing some shows together at one point. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, and I have this habit of buying shoes that don't actually fit me for some reason. Maybe I've convinced myself at this point that about 10 years ago my feet started growing again. So I ended up with a closet full of shoes. And he happened to be, you know, like I think a half size smaller. And I had this pair of brand new black Converse high top, you know. And I also have a weird thing about shoes. I'm always checking people's shoes out, and you know, and I looked down and noticed that the shoes would fit him. So I just pulled them out of the closet and I said, "Here you go." And he took off his shoes and put them on and
wrote that song.
And then wrote that song.
You said he sent you the lyrics before it.
Yeah,
he put it down.
It would have been at least a year after that. You know, he sent me an email and he didn't really explain it. He just sent me this email and it looked like he'd sent me a poem or something. You know, and it was this funny thing about the shoes I'd given him. But he didn't tell me that it was, you know, that he had written the song or that he was writing the song, you know. I didn't, in fact, know about it until it was out, and somebody said...
You went to a radio station or something?
Yeah, and somebody said, "Hey, Tim has this song. Is that you?" I said, "Well, you're kidding me. You put that on a record?"
From the Traveler CD a few years ago. That's great. I was looking at your tour schedule, and like I told you, we get a lot of people in here that tour a lot, but... Man, I mean, you're doing Europe and Australia before the end of the year, and how many dates a year do you do?
I think my rough average is about 150 or so shows a year. I don't know why my tour schedule always looks
It looked
crazy.
like a lot to me.
I mean, it is. And when you do 150 shows a year, it feels like a lot too, you know. I mean, if you factor in days off and stuff, and travel days. So, you know, so it is a fair bit. I mean, I've got a nice schedule. I try not to go out for longer than 3 weeks at a time, usually, and then I get home for a week or two, and then I just keep going out, you know. So I handle it that way, and it works well for me. But there's always a point, at least once during a year, where it ends up being a month or a little bit longer. I think when I go to Europe, I'm tagging on some East Coast U.S. dates on the way back, so that trip itself is going to be about 5 or 6 weeks, I think.
Wow. Rock and roll lifestyle. Kelly Joe Phelps in the studio with us, playing tonight at Southgate House. I guess the best website. I saw you've got some fan websites and the whole thing. But KellyJoePhelps.com,
yep.
I would think would be the one to go to. The new CD is called Toonsmith Retrofit, and if you'd like to rip into one here,
sure.
That would be great. Kelly Joe Phelps tonight at Southgate House here on 89.7.
Come along to the riverside, sit down now. I just wanna hear somebody else whine. If you've got tomorrow, I've got a blade. We can dig a hole into an old book and keep our secrets there, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know of another place beneath some overgrown vine. I can cut them back on and help you down. In there I'll listen to every song you know. I will clap when you are through. And maybe then I will kiss you. And maybe waiting for a long time, all to get these stories out. Tell me yours and I will tell you mine. We can spin them sideways over ground, tie a rope around my shoulder, intend to waken in the morning. Intend to waken in the morning. Hey, hey, hey. So come along to the riverside and lay down now. We can hold or not say all at all. And we'll jump out the crow's nest, heave ashore, wave the mighty skull and crossbones. Oh, up that hill and back down. Oh. Up that hill and back down. Get up that hill and back down. Yeah. So come along to the riverside.
Kelly Joe Phelps at 89.7 WNKU playing tonight over at Southgate House. You can check him out at kellyjoephelps.com. And, you know, I was looking at, I saw, it was allmusic.com today. I was doing a little research on you, and they've got you as, four of your albums were top 10 on the blues chart.
Wow.
Which, you didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
But, you must get compared or be a fan of maybe John Hammond, Chris Smither. Those are two of our favorites here at WNKU. You ever cross paths with those guys or do shows? Yeah,
we've done shows together. Both of those people, great, you know, great men, great people, and fabulous musicians. And yeah, that's definitely one of the perks or the, you know, great benefits of being fortunate enough to be a touring musician, because I've met so many great players along the way. I mean, I've been touring now since '94, I think, was when I started touring. And I've had the great fortune of meeting a lot of people that, you know, at one time in my life, you know, well, they still are, but I mean, they were nothing more than heroes, you know. People that I had been listening to for years and years, and then, you know, not only meeting them, but then, you know, becoming friends, you know. It's very cool. I love that.
Now, who are, because that's something I noticed, like, on your website. I think that's where I read this one, Bill Frisell, which it was really weird. I guess his daughter saw you at the Vancouver Folk Festival, brings home a CD and said, Dad, you'd really like this. Yeah. And he played on one of your records. And, yeah, that's interesting, I guess, the way that all works.
It is interesting. Yeah, you never know. I mean, you know, that was a total shock, too. I mean, he ended up coming to I was doing an in-store performance at a record store up in Seattle, which is where he lives, and I live out near Portland, Oregon, so we're both Northwesters. But I mean, I was playing this little in-store, and I looked up, and I you know, recognized him clearly straight away. And he was over looking at CDs, and I thought, oh no, I don't want him here. You know, I mean, like,
now the pressure's really on.
But he had actually come to see me play. That was after he'd gotten that record from his daughter, you know. And once again, then we you know, started a lovely friendship, and also we've done shows together, and like you said, he played on my previous record, and we just did a show together out in New York about 6 weeks ago, which is really cool. So
Bill Frisell, I think world's greatest jazz guitarist, I think most people would say. And also Cameron Crowe. How do you know him?
No, I don't know
he sure
him.
likes your music.
Yeah, he did, you know, there's a quote a quote of his about the music that I play, I guess is how I would describe it.
Right.
That floats around, but he offered that up, when I was on Ryko Disc. It was the label Ryko Disc, and he contacted them and said, if you want to use this, quote, I'd like to offer it, which is amazing.
Wow.
And that was really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Kelly Joe Phelps in the studio with us. The new CD is really good, and I'm sure well received every night. Toonsmith Retrofit. You play a bunch off of this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name?
Oh, well, CD titles are always really hard to come by for me. I probably spend too much time with them, and I don't know if it's worth it in the end. But it's entitling CDs. I always try to come up with some sort of phrase that describes what's inside of it in a general way. Trying to avoid the whole title track thing. Although I didn't do that this time. But yeah. So anyway, back to your question. Toonsmith Retrofit is a phrase that I am using to just describe the notion of being a tunesmith and having that as a foundation, but realizing a need to maybe on somewhat of a continuing basis look underneath that and make sure that it's solid and see if there's ways, sometimes subtle ways, sometimes not so subtle ways of strengthening it. In this case, just continuing to learn more about music in general, learn more about my approach specifically to music, and how to trying to identify weak spots or things that I would consider weak, and working on them. Just trying to do that lifelong work of getting better and wiser and stronger. And
because I remember, I don't know if you saw the movie Sling Blade. But
absolutely, yeah.
Vic Chestnut and Colonel Bruce Hampton, who were both professional musicians, they play musicians in the movie, somewhat musicians, not very good musicians, but they're arguing over who is a tunesmith or not. That's just
yeah, right.
When I saw Toonsmith Retrofit, I just wondered about that one, and it made me remember Sling Blade.
That's good.
But we've got Kelly Joe Phelps in the studio with us. Check him out at kellyjoephelps.com. Playing tonight at Southgate House, and he's getting the capo ready, and I think we're ready for another one here.
Okay.
On 89.7, it's Kelly Joe Phelps.
There are some that blindly and happily plow, while a tractor screams, feed me some oil. Scraping of gears and the gnashing of teeth fall softly on for the head ears. A frown may give away something right, a smile can hide crooked affairs. But the sun on the back rings a workman's guffaw. It's all in the bag with the coins. Call me tomorrow, then come over here and see if we can figure this out. There in an eye, winking curiously by the campground bedside nightstand. My leg bones feel weary, I walk on they will, holding four wheels and gravy on a plate full of nothing but shaking my head, with a side bowl of nothing to do. Could be a time thing and it could be a ruse, and I will concede to confusion. Ideas spin around my crazy old head, hard as and light as an anvil. The liver will wither and wax with the tide. Fine if I can find the answer to a question I've never been asked before, that I hear time and time again. Ooh, oh.
Kelly Joe Phelps at 89.7 WNKU, and the new CD is Toonsmith Retrofit. Catch him tonight over at Southgate House, and KellyJoePhelps.com is probably the best way to get a hold of him and find out all about him, the pictures and biography and everything you could possibly need to know. There's some fan websites out there too, which is always cool that people like you enough to actually take time to do a website for you, and that's always neat, I think. I wanted to ask you about Dave Van Ronk. You've got a tribute to him on here, and McDougal, I guess it is.
That's the name of it.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's called McDougal because he was referred to and known as the mayor of McDougal Street, because he lived on McDougal Street in New York City. And he is, again, one of those guys. Unfortunately, I never did meet him, but I remember a friend of mine giving me one of his records. This would have been back in probably 74 or 75, something like that, and it really turned me on. You know, I loved that. I mean, I think he was one of the people that kept steering me toward fingerstyle guitar playing. And I just always loved his music. I still listen to it a lot, you know. And that song, I didn't set out necessarily to write a song as a tribute to him, but that song McDougal started finding its way into my fingers, and I kept thinking of him, realizing that what I was coming up with he was responsible for, you know, because of his influence on me. And so, you know, when I put the thing together, again, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to call it, and then it just occurred to me then that it made the most sense to call it McDougal in direct reference to him and his music.
All right, and you can find it on Toonsmith Retrofit, and he's got the capo ready again. We've got Kelly Joe Phelps in the studio with us playing tonight over at Southgate House, and KellyJoePhelps.com is the best way to find out about this guy. You want to do another one?
Sure, I'll do one more.
Kelly Joe Phelps here on 89.7.
Ten-step weaving to the bottom to the floor, taking 11, broken the door. 12-step, I don't want to think like that. Will change my code, pull down my hat and pray, and holler, yeah, and don't let it fade. No, no. I want clear eyes and clean hands. I wanna be a good man, yeah. Circle, go down Delusion Drive, nine-tail cross-eyed, 2-foot slide. Spit the joy from the joyous green, find an old fence I can lean against and pray, and holler, oh, don't let it fade. Oh, I want clear eyes and clean hands. I wanna be a good man, yeah. I want clear eyes and clean hands. Rocket ship ricochet off the wall. Short little guy in a great big fall. How long is too late to lock it right so I can ease on in to an easy night and pray. And holler, whoa, don't let it fade. Yeah, I want clear eyes and clean hands. Now there's blue water in a shiny cup, and I will drink it down, fill it up. Too much losing, we'll be here or gone. Need to comb my hair, walk up home, pray, and holler, don't let it fade. No, no, no. I want clear eyes and clean hands. I wanna be a good man. I want clear eyes and I want clean hands. I wanna be a good man. Yeah, yeah, I wanna be a good man.
Kelly Joe Phelps at 89.7 WNKU. You kind of levitate and leave the room when you play. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yeah.
Isn't he great? Grady, he's not even in the room when he's playing. It's really cool. So yeah, it's something to see live. Kelly Joe Phelps on 89.7. Somebody else we were talking about that you did a tribute to on this new record, Tunesmith Retrofit, is Chris Whitley. We're both fans and still are, I guess. But tell us a little bit about how you came across him and I guss a little bit behind the song and all that. We'll leave with Chris Whitley.
Okay.
All right.
Well, back around 91, I think, maybe 92, somewhere right in there. When do you remember when that came
91 out? Is when it first came out.
Okay,
right.
Yeah, so it would have been right in there. And I was just starting down this path. You know, I was playing at that point mostly slide guitar stuff, lap style slide guitar, which is what I used to do almost exclusively. And I was trying to get it together there. I was listening to a lot of old country blues people and whatnot. But this one gal that used to come see me play at one of these little cafes in Portland brought that on cassette tape, you know, for me. She said, "Have you heard this?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Man, you got to hear this. I think you'll really like it." And I did. She'd never got the tape back. And so, you know, then that started that wheel rolling. And so I listened to that record tons, and you know, a few of the records that came after that tons as well. And we met one time at a festival. Where was it? I think it was in Norway, actually. A blues festival there, and we talked a little bit, you know, and then we ended up doing a few. This would have been now about 4 years ago or so. We did a few co-bill shows together, which was great, and we got to talk a little more. So I never did spend much time with him, certainly not as much time as I would like to have, but we did play some together and talk a little bit, and I just admired his stuff so much. You know, it was really inspirational. I don't know so much that it was like I never sat down and tried to figure out his music, you know, but I was getting such a strong inspiration from him surely through listening to it, you know, and having that. I mean, you know, talk about levitating. I mean, good Lord, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I went to see him a few times before I'd met him, and I mean, it was just an amazing thing. You know, I'm a big jazz fan. I always, you know, have been. John Coltrane is one of my favorites, and he was just otherworldly, you know. I always try to describe him as like, you know that he's playing saxophone, but he's such a musician. He's a musician in such a way that himself and the instrument just disappear, and all you hear is this. It's like all you're hearing is somebody's soul via music. And Chris Whitley is the exact same for me. I mean, you know, I can put his stuff on, the same thing. I don't hear a guitar, I don't see a person, I just get this wash over me. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, his CD "Living with the Law." I agree. That's exactly what it'll do to you. Kelly Jo Phelps in the studio with us. Chris Whitley is who we were talking about, diagnosed with lung cancer last August and died in November in Houston. And Kelly Jo Phelps playing tonight over at Southgate House, kellyjophelps.com. Also on the new the Toonsmith Retrofit CD, he does a very nice tribute to the late Chris Whitley called "Handful of Arrows." And here he is, Chris Whitley. Thanks again for coming by, Kelly.
You're welcome. Thank you.